So today we're going to work on graphing radical equations. We're going to start with a very basic quadratic or radical equation. So f of x equals the square root of x. So on an xy coordinate plane, the square root of x would start at the origin. Get my pencil and draw right there. There it goes. And it's going to come up and it's going to kind of level off going to the right. So that's called a parent function. That's a very, very basic of a function. This one has no sort of movements, up, down, left, right, or any sort of changes. Now, with radical equations, just like it did in quadratics, they are going to have some movements to them. So what I'm going to put in here is if you have any sort of movement with the x, that's the one that's going to move you to the left or to the right. Just like it did in a quadratic, the one with the x is what moved us to the left or the right, and it's backwards of what we've normally thought. A left is actually a plus, so if you see x plus 2, or x plus 5, or x plus 7, just means you're going to go to the left. A minus means you're going to the right, so like x minus 2, x minus 5, x minus 7 means you're going to the right that many spaces. And behind your function, this is the one that's going to move you up and down, and it's normal, plus is up and minus is down. Alright, so if you need anything from the screen, go ahead and pause the video. We're going to look at just some basic examples. The other thing is we are going to want to go through and find domain and range. Remember, domain is your x values. So domain is your x values or possible x value, and your range is your y values. So, very, very basic ones, and then we're going to graph them as well as find the domain and range. Alright, so change screen for a second. Okay, so let's look at square root of x minus 3, got a little bit long, plus 1. Okay, so when I look at a graph of this plus 3 with my x means I'm going to have to go to the right 3. This plus 1 means I'm going to have to go up 1. So instead of starting at the origin, I'm going to have to go to the right 3, and I'm going to have to go up 1. So my radical is going to start right here, and then kind of go up and level off. Now, domain and range. Alright, domain is your possible x values, and when you look at this graph, it goes forever to the right. And it's basically forever to the right. I'm going to use a yellow, I guess. And I'm going to go forever from the right all the way, if you can see that well or not, until I get to there on my x-axis. I'll just make a line through. So my domain in this case is going to be all x's greater than or equal to, in this case, 3. Okay, so it's all x values, because domain is my x values. I look at my x-axis. I use every x value basically greater than or equal to 3 to make my function. Now your range is your possible y values. So that means that we're looking at the y-axis, which is the one that goes up and down. And my function starts right there when my when my y value is at 1. So this is all y values greater than or equal to 1. Now, what you'll see with these is they are greater than or equal to. There is one example, and we'll get to that in a little bit, where it's not that. But when you're doing domain and range, it's x greater than or equal to, and range greater y greater than or equal to. Another thing that students tend to notice, and you'll probably notice this as well, what do you notice about this minus 3 into the radical and this 3 right here? You notice it's just opposite sign, right? Yep. So when you're doing your domain, it's the opposite sign of what's there, and then it's the same sign as your y value is for it. Alright, so I'm going to pick another example. I'm going to leave that one on the screen. Let's say I have square root of x plus 2. Again, I don't know why I keep making these so long. And let's say minus 4. Well, again, on the xy coordinate plane, this plus 2 means that I'm going to have to go to the left 2. And this one means that I'm going to have to go down 4. So I have to go to the left 2, and I have to go down 4. pen to write for me. There it goes. And from there, it's going to kind of go up and start leveling off. So now with my domain, it's going to be x greater than or equal to. Range is going to be y greater than or equal to. So I look on my x-axis, and I use all of my x values to the right of -2, which again, opposite sign of what's under the radical. And my range is all y values greater than -4, because I go all the way down to -4 on my y-axis. Okay, so let's look at some of these other ones. If you need anything from the screen, go ahead and get it. Alright. The only other thing you really have to worry about other than going left, right, up, and down is, we'll look at a very basic one, a negative square root of x. What that does, that negative, all it does is it's going to flip over the x-axis. My pen is not writing well for me, sorry. It's going to flip over the x-axis. So a very basic, this graph would still start at the origin because it doesn't have anything added or subtracted to the x, so it's not going left to right. It doesn't have anything added or subtracted behind, so it's not going up or down. But instead of going up and over like it did before, it's actually going to go kind of down and start leveling off. There is no radical function that's going to face to the left. They're always going to be to the right. If it's positive, it's going to go up and kind of level off. If it's negative, it's going to go down and level off. And the only thing that this is going to change is your range. Okay, you know how everything was greater than or equal to if it doesn't have a negative, and that's true. The only one that it changes is your range when you have one of these, and all it's going to do is it's going to become a y less than or equal to. The domain still is going to stay greater than or equal to, it's just going to be the range is going to become a less than or equal to. Alright, so if you need anything from the screen, go ahead and get it. I'm going to switch screens, we're going to do a couple of negatives. Alright, so let's say I have negative square root of x minus 1 plus 1. Okay, so again, this minus 1 means I'm going to go to the right one, and this one I'm going to have to go up 1. So right 1, up 1 means I'm going to be right. The pen will do that. It keeps thinking I'm wanting to copy and paste something. There. Ah. On pen. There it goes. So to the right one and then up 1. Oh. And I just, while I was focusing so much on that, I just made this thing go positive. Since it is a negative, it is going to go downward and kind of level off. So my domain, which is still going to be a greater than or equal to, the only thing it changes when it's a negative is my y, or my range, is going to be less than or equal to. Still going to be opposite sign of that one, so all x is greater than 1, and it's still going to be this one here, all y values less than 1. Alright, the only other goofy thing that you're going to see on the homework page is you're going to have one that's similar to this. Let's say x plus 1 to the 1/2 plus 2. Okay, so you have one like this on your homework sheet, and your homework sheet, because it's actually drawing out graphs, it's kind of hard to do in Canvas as a homework. So and I wrote this on that homework page, but probably the easiest thing to do is I uploaded the page so you can see it, and it's just 1 through 7. Is to actually do that homework and then just snap a picture with your phone and email it to me. That way I can look at that and you don't have to worry about trying to find a way to turn it in. I think that'd be easiest. But anyway, you have one like this in your homework, and this 1/2, when we were going from radical to exponential form, that exponent of 1/2 just means you're dealing with a radical. So all this really is a square root of x plus 1 under the radical, plus 2 behind it. So that exponent of 1/2, don't let it get to you. It is really just means it's a radical. So this one, we're going to have to go to the left one, up 2. It's not a negative, so it's going to go up and level off. So for this one, my domain will be all x's greater than or equal to -1. And for my range, y values greater than or equal to 2. Okay, hopefully that was easy for you.